Alex, I'm so happy to talk to you today for She Can. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie, for having me. I'm so honored to be here. So I am a life coach and actually I'm leading women's circles now, but really my uh, true business is life coaching women. And women have become just so the heart of what I feel like I'm here to do is to inspire and uplift them by helping them connect more deeply to their intuition and using that as their guide. That's been sort of my journey. When I look back, I'm like, oh, I was really listening to my intuition all along. It's been leading me. I didn't necessarily realize it at the time. But now I'm like, oh, that's what that was. And so now I feel like it's like my purpose is to help other women tap into that, their intuition, their internal guidance system, to lean into their gifts, to start putting themselves out into the world. Really my work is just to uplift women and for all of us to rise up.
Which
But
of
yeah.
course we love to hear that. And tell us a little bit, Alex, how did you get to that stage? How, did you go to college? What did you do? Where did you go next? How did you didn't end up, but how did you get to step into that power to do what you do now?
It has been a ride, I will say that, and definitely not a linear one. So it's funny though, thinking about my story, I just found I went to college in San Francisco. I live in California. And I went to school to work in television. I wanted to be Jules Asner, who did Wild on E, and she traveled the world, and that was what I went to school to do. And then I got there and was like, no, I want to produce. So I started producing shows at school and then graduated, came back to Los Angeles. And my first job actually out of college was on a show called Starting Over, which this is what's crazy. And I just connected this literally last week, but the show was about two life coaches. And women came to live in this house to be coached, circled, sort of, to heal, to do their healing, but together. And so that was my first job, but in TV. So I was working in post-production and that led to, I worked in television for 17 years. And I worked, like I said, I started in post-production and grew there and kept, got promoted and found my way and was good at leading and managing teams. But I realized that I got curious and I was like, oh, but I'm doing post, what's on the other side? And so I reached out to a higher level producer and I said, hey, I'm interested in producing if you ever need anyone. And next thing you know, I was on a flight to Thailand to go produce and do something I'd never done before. And that was just kind of the first of many little oh, I'm curious about this. Oh, okay, then what should I do about that? And then did it. So I bounced around in TV, like I said, for about 17 years. And then a few years ago, I'd had my son. He was 3. I was still working in TV. I was working crazy hours, 17-hour days. I was missing out on my life. But I was working on a show called The Healer, which was about healing people. And it was an energy healer who he's incredible and just showed me a new path in a way. So while the show itself was, the work was hard, it opened me up. And so after that show, though, I was like, I need time. I need time to find myself again, reconnect to myself, my family. And so I took time off. And what I thought was going to be 3 months turned into almost 2 years. But in those few months, I just got quiet. I started meditating. I started journaling a lot. I started asking, what is it that I've loved about this work and what is now missing? And I loved the people. I loved mentoring people. I loved helping inspire them on their journeys and set them on a path. And I think I found that my gift was seeing the potential in people and helping them see kind of what they weren't seeing and get out of their own way. And so I was like, oh, well, what's the job for that? And again, kind of followed my intuition, started just getting curious and then found coaching. And so I signed up for a coach certification program. And that changed my life because it changed me. Going through the program was essentially coaching myself and really facing all the different parts of myself. And I also got pregnant with my daughter during that time. So then, gosh, that led to, well, I will say my daughter opened me up to this like feminine part of myself that I don't think I think I'd been on such a like, just climb the ladder, have a career, make money and do all that. And having been off, reconnecting to myself, and then having this like little fierce, fiery, feminine energy growing in my body and doing this coach training, like a new part of me opened up. So I had her finish the coach training and then was like, how do I start a business now? Like I've got a baby, I've got a 4-year-old, what am, you know? And so I went back to work. I was like, I'm going to do a show. I'm going to make a paycheck. And I was like, this is not for me. I can't do this anymore. And so again, like intuition came calling, my curiosity of like, okay, so then how do I pivot this? Where can I go from here? You know? And I ended up reaching out to our head of HR and saying, have you ever worked with coaches? You know, I had this certification now. I was like, maybe I can work that in. And she was like, we don't really do that because entertainment, that kind of was like a little too, I think, advanced for them. But she was just like, but there is a position in HR. Would you be interested? I was like, HR, like, no, like I've never seen myself working at like, no, like I'm for the people, you know, HR is for the company. But I said, okay, this is the universe, like telling me, like I asked for something, there's an opportunity, let me go with it. And it meant a lot less money than I was used to, a whole new field, you know, a whole new path. I got to learn a lot. And of course, I started in February of 2020, and then March, we got shut down. So now I was at home and learning this whole new field, and HR being having to support the people. I really got to put my skills to good use. And I think I ended up coaching a lot, you know, through all this uncertainty, through all this like disruption and all of that. And so it was basically 2 years of really that, of just trying to be kind of the heart of everything and help everybody feel a little bit more grounded, and while myself also working through it. But then the company went through a merger, my position was changing, and it was like, again, I was like, I'm out of alignment. This isn't for me anymore. And so I said, all right, it's time. And so that ended a year ago, and I started my business, and I also then rededicated some time to me because there was some healing I needed to do after, you know, I think many people with COVID and just our lives getting turned upside down, the world, the state of the world, the state of our country here. Like I just needed to heal. I needed to reconnect to myself and find who I was now, because I think there was no going back. It was like, how do we go forward? And then I found circling, like less than a year ago. Which is how obviously Stephanie, we know each other, but, and the art of circling it connected me to women and women from all over the world. And because I think when I started the business, I was like, I'm going to coach companies, you know, and have one-on-one clients. But really, once I got into the circle, I was like, oh no, like, these are my people. I have full chills right now because I was just like, oh my gosh, women are incredible. We're all over the world trying to like find our way, figure out like we have these gifts, like we all have them. It was just, you know, seeing how we were like, I don't know how to share them and all the things. And so like, I found myself in the circle. I found a clearer calling by being in the circle, and it just got really loud. And so after circling for a few months, I reached out to Dre, the founder of the Art of Circling, and was like, I want to facilitate. I want to help these women. I want to coach. I want to just help this expand. And then she was like, yes. And so I've been coaching women through the Art of Circling while building my business, and started leading circles as well. And I just feel like so called to like help women rise and step into the power that we were born with.
I love listening to your story because it feels is so many synchronicities in there. It's unbelievable. Alex, tell me what do you feel is your, I mean, I understand that this is literally what you are here for and it comes out in everything you say. What is your main motivator in supporting women on their journey and bringing out their gifts? What do you think is it really deep inside of you that is this motivator that gives you the chills when you even talk about it?
I think it's just, I mean, I think it's part of our evolution right now. I think all women, I see it talking to my friends, women in the circle, just the community, my mom, I just think there's this call that's coming through. I feel it. And I think other women feel it. And I think it's just time for a shift. I think the world has been operated, through a very masculine driven system. I think we've lost a lot of humanity and compassion and empathy and love. And that's what women really bring. And I think we're all feeling it. And for me, I get this, like, my fire lights up seeing other women. But I think what's happened is because we're so conditioned and we've had so many, we've been told how to do things and how to be and how to show up. And we've seen even, in many corporate environments, like women competing and just this sort of, instead of us working together, there's been this sort of separate, I don't even know if we've realized it. I think more and more we're realizing it.
Yeah.
So I think my biggest driver is just helping break through that stuff. Like all the old conditioning, anyone who told you can't do this, you can't be that. Like my least favorite, when people say that's just the way it is, I cringe and I'm like, no, nothing is the way it is. And so to me, it's about empowering, inspiring, motivating, and helping with the healing all that stuff that we all have so that we can just go out there, share our gifts, and be part of the evolution of the world, humanity, community, all of it. So
I'm really grateful for you to say all that, Alex, because it's really important. And I feel that viscerally, it's really something I can feel even on my skin. And we are all called to change that in our own ways. Alex, what do you think is your superpower in this? You got that. What makes you so good at that?
Yeah, I think part of it has been my own experience, like seeing this, because I think it's intuition. We are all being guided, and part of for me was that kind of a spiritual connection of understanding, if we listen, we are being guided in a certain direction. So it's really about just listening. And so by seeing how it's worked for me, and the journey never ends. I'm on the journey, I'm in my story, but it's working. And when I'm in that state of flow, it's because I've been listening to myself. And so I feel like I want to share that with other women because it's like, just listen. You have all the answers within you. You just have to be willing to listen, which is scary and hard. And that's sometimes where the coaching, comes in, is like working it out together. But I had actually one of our circle sisters said, she's like, you're like a purpose doula. Like I help women kind of commit to their purpose, get out of their own way, and so it's sort of like I see the magic and greatness and possibility in every person I connect with. And so that's kind of been my superpower, is just sharing that and being able to I think we all want to be seen, right? And when we feel seen, then we're like, oh, okay, we can step into it more. So
thank you for explaining it so beautifully. I love the way you explained it, Alex. It's beautiful. Alex, what would your top tips be for other women?
Oh gosh. Well, I always say just getting still, finding that time for yourself, and I have 2 children, I'm building a business. I have a husband who travels a lot for work. So I understand time. I think our first thing is always time, but 5 minutes for yourself to just get quiet is a game changer. So I always, whether you call that meditation, taking a walk, just time to connect to yourself and start listening, because the guidance is there. Um, I also encourage, and for myself, these are all things I do. So I write in the morning, just kind of stream of consciousness, just sort of getting out my to-dos and the thoughts that are on there, clear that out. Gratitude in the evening, nothing new, but all just like these habits, you know. And I would say my biggest one is also just like, what do I need right now? Because I think I get very swirly or in my head. I've got all these things and I just pause and I'm like, what do I need right now? Sometimes that's a drink of water. Sometimes that I need to go work out. Sometimes I need to take a nap. Sometimes, you know, it's to sit down and focus and just get the work done. But I think often if we just did that for ourselves, like, what do I need right now? And then do it and not question it. Because we often, right, like, oh, I know I need to do this, but then this will happen and that will happen. And then I won't, you know, we talk ourselves out of things. So I would say, what do I need right now? And give it to yourself.
It's a great top tip. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's really probably the top one that I try and practice every day. And
really get in the habit of it, right?
Well, that's what it is. It's making it a habit. And that's why it's just, what do I need right now? Do it. Then think about how you feel when you do it. Because once you've done it, you're like, oh, right. That was what it kind of, that's where the flow starts, because you're listening. You're listening to, like, sometimes it's your body that needs something like water or movement. Sometimes it's your spirit, like go sit outside, look up at the sun or the moon, or like connect to nature. I like to sometimes just go sit under the tree outside to be like, okay, you know, like it's grounded.
Yeah.
But also it's not up here to figure out. Like, to me, my biggest tips are as often as we can to get out of our heads and like into our hearts, and let that kind of be the guidance we use, obviously with intuition. I just feel like at this point, if we do that, everything starts to work. It's like that, to me, it's that simple. Easier said than done, but it's the practice of just
Thank
listening.
you so much for those great tips, Alex. Now, lastly, what are your plans and dreams for your future? What's in store for you?
Well, just continuing to work with women and, you know, get more women to, like, anyone who's looking to like step into themselves and feeling a little stuck, like that's who I want to help, all women just to rise up and to answer the call. So continuing to coach one-on-one. And that's usually how I work, is one-on-one sessions, and I do packages and one-offs. Like sometimes people just need the one, you know, that little boost. And then leading more, I've been doing in-person circles, because I feel like that's just such a great way to spread, and just continuing to connect with women like you doing this work and being part of this larger movement, you know, for women, being able to share my story, inspire other women to share their stories. And I am so open, you know, I'm just like taking those steps and saying yes to these kinds of opportunities. And
thank you so much, Alex. It was super inspiring to listen to your story.
Thank you, Stephanie. So honored to be here.